Welcome back to another episode of the Crime Scene Insiders. I'm one of your hosts, Dion Watson, and I'm joined by my co-host, Angela Davies, and we're going to take you back under the barrier tape.
Dee and I are super excited today because we have with us the man, the legend, Dr. Gary Currie. I'm not even joking, Gary. There's quite a few people who reached out and said, you need to really let us know when you're having Gary on the podcast because people are waiting for this. Your reputation procedure.
It does.
Maybe they'll be hoping I say something controversial.
So are we.
Sound like you.
So for those of you that don't know Dr. Gary Currie, he is an ex-crime scene investigator, crime scene manager, also crime scene trainer. He's worked both here in the UK and over in the Middle East, and then also crime scene lecturer and senior lecturer at Teesside University, which is where we met him. So Gary actually helped shape and form us, helped turn us into the crime scene investigators that we become. And so he's responsible for us today. That's the
I apologise
all
now.
that on you. Yeah.
All your fault, Gary.
Sorry. The world, sorry.
So welcome to the show and thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
One other little thing that people probably don't know is that Gary is also responsible for our theme tune music as well, which we absolutely love. So thank you so much for that.
Yes.
You too, thank you.
Well, if it ever goes worldwide, then we'll talk about royalties.
We'd look at royalties then. No
Yeah.
problem, no problem. So to get us started, Gary, and give our audience an introduction to yourself, can you just let us know how you became originally interested in crime scene investigation? Because you weren't that bothered at first, were you? Didn't you start out as a photographer?
I did. I started at the tender age of 18, 19 as a photographer with Cleveland Police. And that was sort of 1986. So this is a long time ago. But what's interesting about that is I'm getting straight into it here with the timeline, but only 3 years before that, the government had published a white paper called Manpower Effectiveness and Efficiency in the Police Service. And what that was a recommendation that certain roles within the police service were basically, for want of a better term, freed up from police officers and looked towards civilianisation. I think there was a couple of forces already in the country that by 1986 certainly already done that. Of course, one of the roles was that of the crime scene investigator, or SOCOs as they were known back then, or scientific aids, or whatever they were termed in whatever force. And of course, that's another theme that we always come across. You two will know that when we talk about any system or policy or whatever, there's a good chance that there's 43 different versions of that or an interpretation, you know. But in 1986, I joined then as a photographer, and probably about 1989, Cleveland decided to start the civilianisation program, and there was talk of, why don't you apply to be a scenes crime officer? You'd be a good SOCO. And I didn't take them up on the first wave. Maybe I was waiting to see what happened, and or maybe I was a bit frightened. I don't know. Probably a bit apprehensive about the type of thing that you would deal with, even though I'd obviously seen a lot of that stuff through working in the photographic department.
So what were you photographing in the police?
As a photographer, well, I was working. I was doing a lot of post-production stuff, so a lot of printing, fingerprint work. So stuff would be sent in and you'd be photographing it in the studio.
Okay.
Amazingly, the amount of time and effort and skill involved then in that sort of work, I don't know whether that goes on a lot now. I don't know. A lot of it is obviously automated and, we use the technology accordingly. But, I can remember, I'm that old, I can remember using 5x4 cameras.
Yeah.
Film sheet camera. So I was doing that. We were doing a lot of promotional stuff for the force, almost like newspapery type things.
Yeah.
They had an in-force magazine, so you'd go to events, photograph that, group shots, new promotions, all that sort of thing in terms of the photographic. Sometimes being asked to go to major scenes to photograph difficult things. I remember going to a paedophile's house, photographing something on a window or something like that. I remember going into a house on Union Street in Middlesbrough to photograph the inside of that had been a hideout for the guy that killed a local doctor called Dr. Burkitt. Got to be careful because he's probably released by now. Reginald Wilson, hi Reg.
Yeah. I remember that case.
Yeah, that was the first, going off on a tangent, that was the first time I gave evidence in court.
Really?
Yeah. And that's another thing that's changed so much now, thankfully. Imagine that you've been thrown into court, never been in before, presenting evidence on a fingerprint that you photographed on the piece of evidence or a piece of evidence. And
that must be quite terrifying.
Absolutely shaking like Elvis.
Yeah.
The first time, Michael, yes, it was in Durham, and it was what we call the old quarter sessions courts. So it was an old-fashioned court, and you come up like a turret.
Yeah.
Into the court. I might have told you this before.
Actually.
Yeah.
It is, and you sort of turn around, and then you bang, you're there before the judge. You know, what seems to be, in my memory, in arm's length. And then you've got the jury at one side, you've got the press at the other, and you've got the suspect.
That was quite intimidating, that.
Very.
Especially coming up in that way as well.
Shaking like a leaf, honestly, it was. And I think the first question they asked me, I think I got wrong. It was a fingerprint in blood on a bag, on a carrier bag that had been used to hold a hammer. And I think the barrister said to me, was the bag like this when you first received it? And it wasn't, because I'll cut it open and flattened it out and stuff. Anyway, they were okay. By the end of it, I thought I was bloody Quincy and I was throwing that, got me confidence. But I found out later that my inspector had said to one of the older CSIs that was in court, get in there and see what he's like. To sort of see how I presented myself in court. So I guess it was all right. Anyway, back to the story. So 1990-ish, there was another little wave of part of the civilianization program. And this is going on in lots of different forces. Some might have done it lock, stock and barrel, I think. And the force I was in were doing it in little drips and drabs. And what they were tending to do is use it as a tool to move people out of the department that were maybe not performing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure if we spoke to some of them now, some of them must be still alive. They would say that they were selected because their face didn't fit or whatever. And there might have been some of that. I don't know. It was very different times. Yeah, so I sort of voiced an interest at that point. But by then, I was acting as head of the photographic department because of sickness, I think. And they didn't want me to leave that because I was getting rid of the backlogs and stuff like that.
On track.
So this is another example of how times. So they just made a job.
Just created one.
Just said, right, well, you're gonna. It's the first time I come across the word peripatetic. You're a peripatetic. You're half scenes of crime, and you're half what they're called studio manager. So I split my time between the two, and it lasted for a while before people started saying, "Oh, it's not fair," or "It's he needs to commit to one thing or another." And at the end of the day, I basically said, "Right, I'll just do the scenes of crime," and that was it.
So after dipping your toe in, you thought,
yeah, I mean, maybe it was a good thing to do it like that, but mad when I think back, madness how unstructured it was. I mean, I had fingerprint idents before, make a note of this, before I went on my initial crime scene course.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a bit insane, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because...
Wouldn't be allowed now, would it?
No training.
Whilst I was waiting to go on my course, I was with SOCOs getting experience, and I was mentored up with people, and you'd go to scenes and they'd say, do this, and you'd be learning how to do things, and I'd write them up and submit them as my lifts. Yet I wasn't a qualified scenes of crime. I didn't have a degree then.
No.
I didn't, I'd got photographic qualifications and stuff, but nothing to do with crime scene at all. So yeah, that was different times, and I did my initial course in 91, which was back at Harpley Hall, for anyone that's listening that remembers those good old 9-week courses. Although I didn't do the usual thing of having a lot of debauchery on the nights and stuff, because I went up 3 days after my first son was born, so I was travelling back every night. Yeah, being a wonderful
back
father.
every night. Yeah, it was only Durham
at a time when it. Yeah,
I bet people would be surprised to hear that.
Yeah,
missing out on the debauched nights at Hartley Hall. Sad times.
I know. There's loads of things that have changed about that. I remember. This is again off a tangent, but I just remember one guy on the course saying something just out and out racist, because we had one black lad on our course and he was in our group and we were in a dark room together, and he said something, and I just said, can you stop that? I don't like it at all. Yeah. And I was ostracized out the group a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I look back, not by everyone, but by some, including one or two of the lecturing staff as well, as though like I couldn't take a joke,
banter.
That sort of thing.
So bad.
Yeah, I remember that. But other than that, the course was great, and of course I come top of the class. Did you?
You ostracize me all you want, but I'm still going to be top of the class.
Exactly.
I'll stand up for what's right and beat all your asses in the tests.
Yeah, that's it.
So I did my first course, and then I was just straight out and about. Very little, as you say, soft integration into operational work.
So you kind of moved over from the photography department, being out with a couple of SOCOs, actually had some idents, then got sent on a training course, and then were just out, kicked into it.
Basically, yeah. I can't remember exactly, but it wasn't more than a week from me doing my initial course to go on, get out and about on your own.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah,
it is.
And on call as well. I think there was maybe
on call.
There might have been something like a 3-month probationary thing or something like that. But then after that, I remember thinking, I want to get that out of the way because I want to get on call, because I'll get paid then more.
Yeah.
And so you were on call, and back in the day then, one of the things I really regret, I don't know if it's regret, I resent, is the fact that I give up an awful lot of my time for work. Who wants to work over? Me. Who wants to do this extra call? Me. Who wants to do bank over? Me. But it was all about, we were having a family and I was the only one working. We decided to do it that way. Back then,
money.
You needed the money, yeah. So I was at work all the time. There wasn't the career structure either then. For a civilian, there was only scenes. You were a scenes of crime officer, and they only made a senior SOCO's role in our force. They called it a senior SOCO's role. Must have been about 96, 97, something like that. And I was the first one to get that role.
Quite quickly in then.
Yeah.
Straight into senior.
Yeah, 5, 6 years. Maybe it was longer. I think it might have been longer, But I know for definite I was a crime scene manager at the Millennium, because I remember getting called out to a murder in a conservatory. Yeah.
So everyone's waiting for the computers to go bang.
Yeah,
the world
exactly.
to reset, and you're getting called out to a murder.
Yeah. It was a weird one, that one, because I got there and I was in the conservatory just having a recce, you know, as you do as a manager. And I could hear this scuttling around upstairs. Went back to the cordon and I said to the Bobby, I said, is there anybody upstairs? Has anyone checked upstairs? Oh, we've put the family up there.
They didn't.
What?
Yeah.
They left the family
Yeah.
within the crime scene with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Who had been murdered?
There was a member of the family. There was a family party. And I think the guy that did it was in the army or ex-army. And he'd been stabbed. There'd been an argument, stabbed, and that was it.
And so they put the family upstairs.
Yeah, that was madness. But we, got rid of them and got them into a hotel.
And if it was a family party, it potentially could have been one of those? Or did they have the offender already caught? Or
I'm guessing that they had the offender caught. I can't remember. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and see.
I would hope so, but then I would also hope they wouldn't keep the family in the crime scene. So
there was more things went wrong on that scene as well. That was, oh god.
Oh, like what?
Well, there was a scenes of crime officer. I'm not going to say names, but he eventually got sacked.
Oh dear.
For different things.
It's quite hard to get sacked from the police once you're in as well, isn't it? So it must have been bad.
Yeah, it must have been.
Anyway, I arrived as a manager and had a little look, and then, as you do, get an update, what's been done, right, what needs to be done immediately, and what can we do to lock down the scene before we go off to the mortuary and all that sort of thing. So got one guy doing the photographs, the other person taking the video in those days were separate things.
Yeah.
Little handheld camera. Have I told you this one as well? Oh god, it's so embarrassing. And I've got loads of stories about this lad. That's why he got sacked, unfortunately. So for those that don't know, at a murder scene like that, what you tend to do is record the scene, do a few tasks that might involve fragile evidence. But in essence, once the pathologist's been to have a little look around, then you bagging the body up, off it goes to the mortuary and you follow it down. And then you might do a little briefing down there, and show some images on the video, because obviously we're back to traditional film. There's no immediate digital images. These are the days of wet film, and fingers crossed and hope that it's turning out okay. So we get to the mortuary. I said to this person, right, where's the video? Because I need to have a look at it in case I want to show the pathologist. Oh, where's it? Where's the camera?
Oh no.
Right, where is it?
Where is it? I asked you.
And as these things are you're going through your head, you're thinking all these images are flashing in your head, like, when did I see him with it? When did it,
Where was it last?
So I think, if I remember right, he may have volunteered and said, oh, I think I put it on top of the van.
Oh no.
When you left the scene?
Yeah.
Not the camera.
Yeah. Which wasn't too far away. Maybe 2 miles.
That's a nightmare.
To cut a long story short, what I did, because we had a little time frame before the pathologist arrived, I'm panicking because I'm thinking, if anyone picks up this is New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people out and about.
So I drove at God knows what speed, the same way as we drove in, because we did come down in the van I was in. And anyway, to cut a long story short, when I got round to near the murder scene, the first corner, there it was.
Oh my goodness.
Was it in a case or anything as well?
Yeah, I think it was in a little pelican case. Yeah.
At least it was a bit protected and nobody had picked it up. Imagine a member of the public picking that up and starting to watch that video. Like,
Exactly.
That's horrendous.
Yeah. And, I'm not. Won't go into their attitude of like, oh well, we found it now, so everything's fine.
No.
Pop back in the van with it. Let's go then.
I felt like asking for another scalpel when on the postman. But yeah, so I became a crime scene manager, and I think I really enjoyed it to start with. But again, there's always lots of things going on. There was a lot of staff changes. I did feel as though I needed to really prove myself because I was the first civilian.
Oh, really?
In that role.
That's interesting.
And, you'd go to a scene as a scene manager, and I still had bobbies.
Okay.
Working as CSIs in my team, and I'd walk into a room, a CID room, and those officers would talk to the bobbies, not me. Not all the time, not everyone, but now and again. And it took a few scenes, I think, for them
to integrate.
For just to gain respect. Maybe everyone has to do that. I don't know. I just felt it a little bit.
I think there were some frontline civilian roles haven't always been looked upon with the most respect, have they? If there were still some of those issues going on when we joined, which was way after.
Yeah. It's like everything, isn't it? In life, I guess there's always half and half.
Especially in these big institutions, because they're quite archaic a lot of the time. It takes a lot of time for shifts to occur and changes in cultures to occur, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. There's a reluctancy to change sometimes with people, isn't it? Particularly if people have been in there for a while. When the changes come around, it does take people a good while to transition.
And
also, I don't think all bobbies wanted to go back out on the beat. I think some of them were happy
in
100%. Crime scene.
Yeah,
100%. That some were dragged, kicking and screaming. Really, I mean, I probably did feel sorry for them at the time because they'd been out of operational work for so long, and then they're thrown back into that world, being a lot older as well. Possibly fighting some tour rag in middle of a town centre on a Friday night, and you think, oh no, this wasn't the plan. But yeah, I remember I had conversations about it. I was quite open about that reluctance maybe to accept civilians as crime scene managers. And maybe that's a bit misleading in the terminology, because it was about accepting them as an investigator. That was the key one. I remember once being at a briefing for a murder where this guy had been upstairs with a prostitute, apparently just talking. And
it's always where you go for your chat, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was, but the poor son, it was a case of wrong place, wrong time, mistaken identity as well, I think. Anyway, he's upstairs in this room, and a gang of, as the SIO described them to be, real nasty bastards, come into this house. They smashed the head of someone who's downstairs through the fish tank, which happened to release some really interesting contact trace evidence, that like fluorescent gravel, off up the stairs, and then they pushed this guy through the window, and he ended up in the yard at the back of the house. And I remember going to the briefing, something like that kicks off, and it's big rooms, lots of investigators there. And I remember standing listening to the update, this is what we know now, what do we need to know, how we're going to find out, all that SIO type thing. And the LIO, local intelligence officer, apparently had one of his reliable informants tell him that this guy, the deceased, he hadn't been kicked through the window. He'd been, for want of a better term, tortured first by hanging him upside down for a long time and shaking him before. And I was there, and I thought, that can't have happened.
Ooh.
And there was a couple of reasons. Well, one main reason was the deceased. He had a row of pens in his top pocket.
Yeah.
And pencils that were not clipped in. One or two might have been, but the others were loose. So if anyone had have done that, they'd have fallen out.
Yeah.
So I think, oh God, should I say something? Because he was like one of this LIO guy. He was, how can we describe, like bombastic, big, big I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was all right, actually, later on. Anyway, to cut a long story short, again, I sort of basically said, "Oh, can I just come in there?" And I'm newish.
Yeah.
This point, and that looking back, that takes a lot to do that in a room full of like 50 or so detectives or whatever.
I said a lot of guts.
And
really
I just
relatively new in front of all those officers, some leading officers.
Yeah, and I just said, I don't think that's happened. Oh, why is that? And I'd explained what it was. I might have even had some photographs, but I just remember sort of feeling at least as though, at least he's thinking about things like me. That I got that impression, and the SIO, who would later sort of write me an absolutely lovely letter when I left, talking about the different scenes that we'd done together over the years, really meant a lot to me. He was lovely. A great SIO.
That's the thing, isn't it? You start to build up those relationships and rapport, don't you, across the investigative team?
Yeah. Anyway, that was one of those moments where I thought, all right, yeah, I'm okay. Maybe I actually know a bit more than I think I do.
Yeah.
So that was good. But then I stayed as a crime scene manager for a while. Again, it depends on the force that you were in as to what that meant in terms of your role and responsibilities. But I had a fair amount of staff, really, for probably first managerial role. 19 staff in North Ormsby, and I think 15, 16 in the other office.
That is a lot.
Yeah, and sometimes, you were looking after them all because, not all the time, but you might do a couple of days where you're the only one on as a crime scene manager. And there was about 2 years, I think, where I was on call for nigh on 15 nights a month.
Wow.
Because there was only 2 of us in the force at that time because people were off sick or whatever.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. You spending all your time called out or on edge that you're getting called out or at the mortuary or whatever.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because even when you're on call, even if you don't get called out, you don't rest properly because you'll be looking at your phone or whatever and thinking, and just on edge that you're going to miss a call or something like that.
Yeah.
So you must have been knackered in that time.
Yeah, I was. I guess it depends what type of person you are as well. I'm still the same now. If I need to be up at 7 o'clock, I can guarantee I'm awake at 4:30 or something, thinking, no, do I need to be up here? It's just that it's the way you are. It's just, wired in a different way. But I did that and I think got quite a lot of experience as a youngish crime scene manager. And then because of the call outs and that pressure, I think I just started to look elsewhere, and I noticed there was a job as an instructor up at Harpley. Back in those days, that's the National Training Centre, Harpley, when I say Harpley. So there was a connection with that organisation. Yes, I applied for that and I got it. And I got hell from the inspector.
For leaving?
For leaving, yeah. I was called a snake in the grass. She was a great inspector as well, Janice Milner. She was really, really good to me as a civilian crime scene manager, because there was 3 or 4 of us, 4 crime scene managers, and I was the only civilian one. But she was dead fair and really encouraging, and really, it's give me a lot of constructive criticism and took the mickey out of me and like made me feel part of the team. She really was good.
It's what you need, isn't it?
Good. Yeah, yeah. And so when I phoned her that morning and said, "Oh, I've got something to tell you," because I think she'd taken me under her wing, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
People used to say, "Oh, the blue-eyed boy," and all this stuff, You what? Get over here now. So I had to drive over. Oh God, you snake in the grass! What you doing? You'll never do anything in training. You know that you're going to get my job if you stay. And she was the SSM. So that I went off to Harpley Hall. Are you bored yet?
No.
No. How long? Can I ask how long were you in the police for then, Gary?
16 and a half years operational.
It's a long time, isn't it, to be attending crime scenes, seeing so much trauma and misery, working shifts, working on calls.
Yeah, we did a lot more scenes then. And you might argue that it's much better now because SOCOs are spending hours at one burglary scene or whatever. I'm not going to even go there.
Don't even get us started.
I know.
Yeah.
It's fair enough if that hour or a couple of hours is spent productively and recovering evidence as opposed to filling forms out and justifying your decision making.
Yeah,
we agree.
If you haven't guessed, if you're watching this, that seems to be the case now for a lot of things. I think on average, I remember correctly in saying 1,400 scenes a year at Cleveland. And that's not right either, because I remember one day doing 32 scenes.
32 in a shift?
In a double shift.
You'd pulled
in a double shift, yeah.
What hours was that?
I think it was 8 till 9, something like that. There is a bit of a reason for that. Sometimes you'd get, say, 5 or 6 break-ins on the same road.
Yeah, or maybe where they'd be going to one and then going in a line.
Yeah. So there was a few of them in amongst that lot, but I remember just going bang, 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 really not examining them as fully, shall we say, as you might do now. Having said that, as an experienced scenes of crime officer, I would go to let's say one of those scenes on that particular day, and if I looked at the point of entry, inside point of entry, and found finger marks inverted on the window transom, happy days. I've got what I need. I might look at a few other things, but then it's right, thank you, right, I'm off to my next one.
So you would recover the fingerprints and then be gone, essentially?
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, recover the fingerprints, write them up. Not everybody did. I've got horror stories about that. Somebody walking around with a pack of cards saying, "What?" Well,
we've got a horror story about that as well, haven't we?
Yeah,
terrifying.
But I would write them up as best I can. Sometimes just write the notes at the time, like vaguely, and write them up properly later.
Well, it is contemporaneous or as soon as practicable afterwards.
Yeah. But yeah, there was a lot going on then as well. Mid-90s, God, there was cars galore. One person could cause their own little crime wave. I remember you know what it's like, don't you? There was one lad called Wayne Warwick. Hello, Wayne, if you're watching. He would pinch 20 cars in a night and leapfrog, just go drive a Cosworth somewhere and drop it off and pinch another one and rip the radio out, and then the next day just bang, bang, bang.
The thing with that as well, going back then, is car crime was so much higher, wasn't it? Because they were so much easier to get into and to hotwire and take away.
Yeah. And you ask any SOCO, any CSI from back in that time, they'd talk about ignition cowlings, being ripped off and those marks.
I loved a good cowling.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing, I guess we probably did have a chemical treatments unit at that time, but just before then, we used to do a lot of stuff on our own on division. We did our own super glue.
Did you?
We did our own ninhydrin. We did our own physical developer. I mean, no wonder the fish have got 4 heads round beneath the River Tees, because God knows what went into that sink. You know, it's madness.
Not just the fish that have got problems.
Oh, madness. Oh, madness. Yeah.
I think you had a chemical department in the late 90s, because I did my work experience at Cleveland, and that's actually when I first met you. I always say this to you because you never remember it, but I remember it as clear as day because I was so excited.
Yeah.
I was only like 15, 16, and it's the reason I remember the Dr. Burkitt murder, because you showed me the photographs of the Dr. Burkitt murder and told me about it. So I had some time in the photography department, then some time in the chemical enhancement unit, then I got took down to Wetherby, and then I spent time in North Ormsby. I spent time with you in the office, and you showed me a lot of photographs and taught me through a lot of stuff, but then I went out with Sarah Beddy.
Yes, and she's still there.
I think she is, isn't she, part-time?
Yeah, I think
and
so,
then Mandy Jones,
who's the boss now.
So they were who I went out on scene with, and I loved it, because that was the flip between me wanting to be a forensic biologist and crime scene investigator. I love that work experience. I think I was 16.
That you got that as well. I mean, that's lucky. A great thing, isn't it? I mean, you should be able to do that now with, people that show a real genuine interest, but there's no way in a million years you would get the chance to do that now.
No, and I think even if people did, they wouldn't be allowed to look at the photographs, some of the more brutal photographs. And it didn't upset me; it excited me. I was like a serial killer.
Dee's often said she's quite morbid.
Dee's often said some of my stories on the making of a serial killer rather than a scene investigator. But of course, I found it awful. But it also made me want to do the job. It didn't make me turn off. I think, oh my God, I can't do that. That's horrendous. It made me think, oh my God, I want to get to that scene.
Yeah.
I don't mean it in an awful way, like, oh yeah, someone's died. It was just more, I want to be going to that scene. I want to be that person.
Interesting,
yeah. So you are actually responsible for my full career on reflection.
I'm really sorry. And thankfully, all the bosses that were in place at that time when I was showing you those photographs probably would have said I shouldn't have done that, maybe then. I don't know.
Well, I'm grateful.
I don't know. Yeah. So different times, better, worse, I don't know. I suppose when I look back on the operational work as a SOCO, I have to really dig deep to remember that I did like it. My missus will say, oh God, you loved it at the start. You were always talking about it, and you used to love going to work, and doubling up with a lad called Paul Derrin, we used to have a really good laugh, finding the fun in that world. But now I look back but I resent it in a way.
Yeah.
Just the amount of time. But then again, it's like, it is what it is,
Because it's interesting
you do what you do.
That you say that, because as a lecturer, you were always considered one of the best lecturers. There's a handful of you, and you were like top lecturer, and everybody loved your lectures, looked forward to them, couldn't wait to be in them. And I think a lot of it was because of the realities that you brought to it. You weren't just an academic.
Yeah.
And back then, I always thought or felt that you must have enjoyed it for the time that you did it, because you were so passionate about it, and that came across in your teaching.
Yeah,
it really did. I was going to say the same thing. You were so passionate. You could see that in everything that you brought to it.
I think, you probably, I will have been. I mean, I wouldn't have made that up, but I think, do you know what it is? Just as you get older and you see something go round for the third or fourth time in terms of policy, or just even in life, you do start to think of these throwaway phrases that people use sometimes, like, oh, but we make a difference. So that's one that gets me at the minute. And I think, do we make it? Really, do we make a difference? Maybe at a micro level, and for really relatively short space of time, but macro level, longer term. I mean, I'm getting really philosophical and a bit
That's
down
okay.
here, but I don't, I don't think it will make a difference.
It's okay.
I really don't.
You don't? What do you
No.
mean in terms of in scene investigation or
life in general, or
well, no, in just if we take crime scene investigation on its own, you might get an ident or whatever, and somebody gets arrested, and they might go to jail, they might not, they might get off, which you know too much
well.
about, so, and even if they go to jail, then they get out, and like 30 years down the line, you look at the telly and you think, God, crime's even worse than it was. And I don't know, mate.
You make an excellent point. The criminal justice system is failing in many, many ways, actually.
Yeah.
I suppose where the difference is made, and probably thinking about that micro difference, is the time you spend with victims.
Yeah.
And the reassurance and the crime prevention advice and that one-to-one interaction. You don't know what difference you make to people in that respect, because you're going to people at the most vulnerable when they're feeling the most insecure.
But because to us, like you say, we go to so much of it, we see so much, don't we? So one case mightn't mean as much to us, but to them, that might be the only experience they have with crime in their life. Hopefully they don't experience it very often. So I think to individual victims, it probably is quite impactful.
I mean, I have thought about that post the operational side, because I went on and did my education later on and become all doctorified. I've thought about that a little bit, but I'm just wondering, listening to you talk there, is this like a too broad brush or crude way of explaining it? That did you have more of a female's perspective on that? Because I didn't think about that impact when I was operational. And funnily enough, I was thinking about this morning because I knew we were going to be talking. I think I put up a barrier for a lot of years to protect me from all that, for want of a better term, shit that you deal with.
Yeah.
Either shitty people or awful events.
You just put that trauma.
Yeah, and I can specifically remember sometimes the odd occasion where I let the guard down and got quite upset. Like, I remember going to a burglary of an old guy on a council estate in Middlesbrough, and he was I don't know, he's 75, something like that. Routine burglary, can we say? In the back window back in the day, probably pinching the telly or the video, because you used to be able to carry tellies then. They're not like they are now.
Carry them and get some money for them.
yeah. Well, usually the video then, like, 20 quid for the video.
Yeah.
So he'd been brought into it, but that wasn't the point at that scene. He'd lost his wife and he'd built a little shrine to her in the back room. Oh. And as they'd climbed in the window, they'd knocked this shrine down, photographs, candles, all that sort of thing. And he was absolutely heartbroken. And I remember getting into the van and really crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
Thinking, bloody hell, that's all. Like, that's really awful. Forget your video or whatever, that. And that was rare for me to get upset about anything like that. And believe me, like yourselves, been to lots of scenes where as soon as you start to sympathize, empathize, humanize, that it's like you're dragged in and it's like, oh God, no, I can't do this.
It's when that kind of veil slips between the two worlds, isn't it? Where you're in your professional zone and you're there to do a job, and then actually the human element comes in and that veil slips and your empathy kicks in and you see the emotion, and it's just like, no, it's too real.
Well, I think that seeps in then. Well, it did for me. I know it did. That you protect yourself. You become in sort of defining what I've just said there. You dehumanize yourself to a certain degree. And I remember after I'd come out of operational work and went into the world of higher education, I remember my wife Al saying to me one day, "Oh, you're back."
Wow.
Because I'd obviously said something that I hadn't said. I think it was to do with funerals or upset like that, because prior to then, anything to do with death, or not that you don't care, you just, I don't know. I always felt as though there was something protecting me from it. Maybe.
I think we'd maybe take a much more pragmatic approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a part of life. You see it. This is the process, and we process everything, don't we?
Yeah.
Or put things into processes, I think, as scene investigators.
Yeah, maybe.
That must have been quite shocking to you, was it? Did you realise?
No.
Or was it just when Alison said that?
No, when she said that, yeah, and I thought, oh God. And those sort of things again, like, come back to that. I sort of resent that in a way, because if you, rather than say, "Oh, don't be stupid," that's not the case. If you think about things, you think, "Oh yeah, actually, I can see it from your side," or you think back to when you might have been in a conversation with not like-minded SOCOs in the office or wherever, and you might say some dark humour in front of the family or something, and
oh, you've got to be
you get
careful,
a sly look. You get a look like, bloody hell, he's like got
what's wrong with you?
Ice, that sort of thing. Not that I'm saying I've done all that, but I'm much softer these days, and I like it. I like being like that, I like being normal, I guess.
Being normal. What is normal? That's the question.
What is normal?
What is normal? Do you think then it's been since because you've retired now and you've stepped away from everything, and then you chose to step away from all things crime scene? So we're lucky that you're here doing this today with us. So thank you, because we're making you look back a bit, even though you've stepped away altogether.
That's fine.
Do you think it's since you've stepped away and put everything down that you're starting to take a different viewpoint on it?
I think so. You do, don't you? I remember up at the National Training Centre, I used to run a major disaster course, facilitate it, down at Teesside Airport. And there was a lovely lady who used to come and talk about post-traumatic stress and that sort of thing. But I remember sitting in the lectures, obviously, and she talked about this merry-go-round syndrome, or at least that's the common term for it, and I remember that one. Just that when you're in something, you don't see it. You're on the merry-go-round, and it's not until you step off and sort of look from a distance that you start to see things in a totally different light. And I think that's happened to me. From a crime scene perspective, it's probably happened in two big phases. One is the moving into higher education, which is a totally different. Well, bloody hell, the phone's not ringing every 2 minutes. What is that phone plugged in? That sort of thing.
It's a very different pace, isn't it?
Totally. I mean, I absolutely loved it when I went there to start with. I couldn't believe it. And then, like, retiring as well is just nice. I just want to fill the time I've got left with nice things that I like. I don't want to work in crime scene stuff. I've had a few offers of things. Would you like to do this? Would you? And I don't really. Yeah. So
it must be nice to get a different perspective on it as well, though. But do you think that, look, because we've talked about it in the past in terms of mental health, the three of us have had conversations about mental health and it being impacted, and thinking that in some ways we got off lightly because we never suffered with PTSD or any kind of big breakdowns. We used our coping mechanisms and did okay in one way or another. But if your wife said that to you and then you've got some resentment built up now, do you think differently about it in terms of mental health now than you did then?
I guess in hindsight, how do I explain it? If I could go back, I'd do things differently. But that's knowing what I know now. The mindset I was in then. Like, for example, I remember the very first time our force offered, what would they call it?
Occupational health counselling.
Yeah.
And it was after there was a murder in Middlesbrough a young girl, a schoolgirl called Nikki Conroy. And
I remember that.
So what had happened is this idiot called Stuart Wilkinson, I think, had walked into the school, went into the classroom, lined the kids up, and basically started stabbing them. And unfortunately, Nikki died. So I remember I didn't do the scene. I wasn't involved that much at all. I think I might have been involved in the periphery of maybe examining his house, I think, or something like that. But I remember, because I was part of the office, being offered counselling. And you know what I thought? I was more concerned when I think back, what an idiot. I was more concerned that I wasn't covering Middlesbrough that day because
Really?
Yeah, because I would have got more overtime. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, if I'm being dead honest. And of course, the other guys and girls in the office at that time, I don't think any of them took up the counselling. No. Because it was just like, it was seen as, I don't know, whatever you want to call hairy-fairy or pointless.
Stigma attached to it way back then. I think there still is a stigma, but I think things have improved. But back in those days, it was even worse, wasn't it? It was seen as a weakness.
I wonder whether, like looking back, if you think about what I said earlier about putting a barrier up, maybe people just didn't want to do it because they knew. Yeah. If I go to this, it's going to mean taking the protection down that I've been building up all these years. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I remember that.
Will I continue to get deployed to other jobs? Will it be seen as a weakness? Will people take the piss out of me?
Yeah.
What will people think? And there was also that, I think, that thing of just get on with it.
Like, 100%.
Block it out, move on to the next thing.
Honestly, there's some horrible stories I've got of people in our office over the years, like back at the very start of when I started on Scenes of Crime, late 80s, early 90s. But I remember one or two people having breakdowns. No, yeah, they must have, breakdowns. I'll go suicidal, to be honest.
Really?
And getting absolutely no sympathy whatsoever from people in the office. Anyway. But maybe sympathy was given in other ways as well. You'd maybe go for pints with sergeants or something, and they'd never say anything good to you, and then they've had a few pints and you're a good lad, or just something like that, just to let you know that what they think of you. I don't know. Maybe that tied in with that, though, I think, was also like the civilian police thing, because when they say something like that, it's like, actually, you're one of us, you. That sort of thing, even though I don't know where I am, I'm just working, but I don't know. Have I given you the full life story? No, I haven't, have I? Where did we get up to? So I went to the training college. Should I continue?
Yes.
So I went to the training college, and again, I was dead lucky there because within 6 months, because of different staffing things, I suddenly got the job of head of national crime scene training.
Bloody hell, in 6 months.
Yeah.
You've had quite a lot of fateful, lucky things happen, haven't you, really, along the path?
Yeah, I don't know why. People just seem to think he's all right, and I don't know. I think somebody said that. Was I a safe pair of hands? That sounds boring, wasn't it?
I think probably more because of your work ethic, because you're smart. Yeah. Because back then you probably had a passion for it.
Yeah.
And then also you're charismatic, you're easy to get along with. People enjoy talking to you.
Very personable.
Yeah.
Unless they really, really try and be sly, and then I get annoyed. But,
and the other Gary comes out.
Yeah. So I did that for a bit. And that's an interesting time because I was there in 2002. Teesside launched their first crime scene science degree in 2001. And the reason that they launched that is because in Blakey's thematic review in 2000, under the microscope. And that basically, as an overarching aim, was talking about professionalizing the discipline of crime scene investigation. That's the first time, for example, that we hear the term CSI.
There's a real shift, wasn't there, from SOCO to CSI?
Yeah. And because they wanted to say, these people are not brush hands, as they were called,
Hoovers. Or Hoovers.
Hoovers, evidence Hoovers, brush hands. Yeah, these are but part of the investigative process. Julie Mennell, who was then at Teesside Uni, very switched on, got a secondment to the National Training Centre with the idea of basically transposing the training course into a degree.
Okay.
That's where that started. Obviously, there'd been other forensic courses around the country. I think the first one was 1967 at Strathclyde. There was a few others launched.
There wasn't that many about
MSCs.
I remember in the 90s when I was looking to go to university, it was really difficult to find a forensic course.
There
were very few.
King's College in 84, MSc in forensic science, but it was all about forensic science. It wasn't crime scene science.
Yeah.
And so that's basically what happened with that change. That was a big change, that in the public perception, certainly the police perception of what it was to be a CSI. Before, in a way, maybe any old could do this.
Yeah.
And then there was that professionalization, and then I think most job adverts now, you'll see that you want a degree in a related subject. Some even ask specifically for a crime scene.
Well, they did, but it's shifted again as well, And some forces now are doing apprenticeships. Version was 18.
And I think that's a good thing. I actually think that's a really good thing.
Do you think that you need a degree to be a crime scene investigator?
No. I think it helps to have a degree in a related subject to have a greater understanding of the roles and disciplines involved within investigative process. And it, you would hope that it would make you think differently. More deeply, more analytical, perhaps. But you know as well as I do, you'll have worked with people with degrees that find it difficult to tie the shoelaces. And I've worked with some scenes of crime officers that don't have degrees, and they were really absolutely brilliant scenes of crime officers. Really good. So, yeah, maybe I've got a skewed view. I don't know.
I think that, like you said, a degree can help you with different things. Going away to university can shape you, can give you your independence, learn to live alone. I think having a degree teaches you to think more analytically, and depending on the quality of the degree as well and what's taught to you. Like in ours that you guys taught, it was so practical. By the time we'd done 3 years, we'd done a lot of practical work. We had most of the practical skills down, I think.
Yeah.
And then also gave us the scientific background, so we knew what we were recovering, why we were recovering, and then where it was going to go, and the greater context of that investigative process, which give us a better understanding, I think, of forensic strategy.
Yeah. Well, back in your time at the uni, and over a period of probably about 10 years, so before, slightly before you, slightly after you, the course was aligned to the Chartered Society as it is now.
Yeah.
And there were certain modules within the course, what we would call core modules, as in like crime scene modules.
Yeah.
With those vocational practical elements within those modules that were termed as non-compensatable. So you had to pass them. You couldn't be given be compensated. I might have to do a little explainer here that in higher education, as it was, and it probably still is in some way, shape or form, You do so many modules a year in your degree. They're worth a number of credits depending on the systems that they've got, but some are compensatable. In other words, if you haven't done well in that, well, you've done all right in your others. We're gonna give you the green light and you can move on. You know, or if you're really cynical, you can move on and, oh, can we have your next year's payment, please?
Yeah.
So, you know, we don't want you not to move on. That was the case. But what happened again within HE land is somebody somewhere along the line thought, we might be losing some people here because they're not getting, these non-compensatable. It's maybe stopping a number of students regressing, as they say.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get rid of them. We'll just make them. Yeah, and so they're not. They're compensatable now. So what you've got in theory, and I'm going to even say theory in inverted commas, because I can think of one person in my time that this happened to, can fail of year one core module in crime scene. Imagine failing that.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Bad.
Yeah. So they either didn't turn up or they were useless.
Yeah.
The second year module and the final year module, in theory. So you could.
That's really bad.
You could graduate in crime scene science having never passed a core crime scene module.
Oh, that's bonkers.
That's in theory. I can only think of that. I can only think of one person that is. And I must say that most of our graduates that I taught were really, really good.
Yeah.
They were better back in the day, I must say. They were much more committed.
Your best here, haven't you, Gary?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you are classic examples, to be honest, of people that really, really wanted to do it.
Yeah.
There's loads of students, in my experience, as time went on, that would turn up on the course and really just, they didn't really know why.
Yeah.
Of course, there's others that turn up and they absolutely nailed on and that's what they wanted to do and good luck to them and they put the effort in. But there's others that just want to sometimes delay the inevitability of getting a job.
Going into the world.
I want 3 years and this looks all right because I've watched CSI on the telly. It's all right. This will do. But, quite often fall by the wayside. That happens sometimes. Yeah. No doubt it happens in other disciplines as well.
Well, I think that's the other thing. So we were saying, weren't we, that degrees can help in some ways, but I certainly don't think you need one to be a scene investigator. But it does depend on the quality of the course as well. I mean, people started sticking the word forensic in front of all sorts of crap, didn't they? Just to entice and attract people.
Yeah. Well, again, around that time, early 2000s, it was such a flavour of the month that unis were looking at Teesside and thinking, bloody hell, look at them. They're getting 120 students a year. Yeah. We had 120 students for quite a few years. Now, to put that in really context, now they get about 30 or 40.
Really? Has it dropped off that much?
Yeah. Yeah, you imagine. Wow. I mean, from a lecturer's point of view, we were doing like repeats of practical sessions, some 12 times sometimes. It's weird that because it was seemed much busier then, but I really, really enjoyed it at that time.
Again, because you had two of the best.
Yeah, must have been. It must have been.
All they could have been, I'm sure.
So I was working at Harpley, as I say, heading up the national crime scene training, and then I was starting to get a bit disillusioned because, if I'm honest, you've been sent to different meetings around the country and you're seeing quite a lot of the same old faces on these working parties and talking like just bullshit. And a part of that job, they used to send me to like different conferences and things. And I remember going to a conference in Bruges, but Julie Mennell was there. So Julie Mennell was the lecturer then that had launched this crime scene degree at Teesside, and we hit it off. And on the way back on the train, she just said, well, there's some lectureships coming up at Teesside. I said, well, it's no good for me because I ain't got a degree. How can I teach a degree when I haven't got a degree, you know? And she said, it's fine. Be good for them if they could have the head of national crime scene training.
Yeah, very good. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I applied for that and I got the job. God knows how, because I cocked the interview up big style.
Did you? Why?
Yeah, we had to. God, we had to do a presentation because you're going in front of a panel of about, I think there was about 30 people there.
Oh, that's intimidating.
Oh, there was loads of there was loads, but I was quite used to speaking to big groups by then. You had to prepare your presentation on a CD-ROM. Do you remember them?
Yes.
So the morning of the interview, gets my gear together, gets into the car, drives down, goes into the interview room. Would you like a coffee? Yeah. Have you got your CD-ROM so go and load it up? Yeah. What the? Oh no.
Did you leave it on top of the van?
Yeah. Worse. Yeah. Hey, then bloody hell, that's come back to haunt me, hasn't it? I phoned Al up. I said, just have a look on the drive. Is there a silver thing? Oh yeah, there's a silver thing on the drive.
You hadn't really?
Oh no. So
no.
I says, okay. Fortunately, I printed it out hard copy.
For you.
And so I explained to them, the facilitators. I said, but if you could just print me enough copies to give one each to the audience, that would be great.
That was thinking on your feet.
Yeah. So I did that, and I sort of went in not bluffed it, but I made it to my advantage.
Yeah.
I told them what had happened, and
just honest.
And I said, so if I can deliver this without the preparation and tell you what, then maybe I'm the right one for this job. And so I just went on and did it like that.
Good spin.
I know, yeah. So I got that job, and then that was a totally different world. And I really enjoyed life at Teesside to start with. But then I had a little break in the middle when I went out to the Middle East in Qatar.
Now, how long did you go there for?
Well, it was open-ended to start with, but I ended up just doing a year because the truth is, basically, Al hated it. When I eventually managed to get them out there, get her out there, because they didn't seem to have the same urgency. Why do you want your wife here? Enjoy yourself.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a few stories about that, but maybe for another podcast. Just bit the bullet, and I had to reapply for my job at Teesside back then. Full circle. I had to do a presentation, fly over, do my interview, presentation, fly back, get told I was coming.
But if I remember rightly as well, though, a load of students set up a petition called Bring Back Gary Currie.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Yeah. That must have been quite flattering. I think I signed it.
It was really.
I wasn't even there, and I think I signed it.
Yeah. It was really flattering, but at the same time, it caused me a load of chew because that's why they insisted on having interviews.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think before that, they were basically going to do some smoke and mirrors about that I'd been on a year's sabbatical.
Yeah.
Because I'd taken severance. So when I came back, I had to hand that back. There's your money back, and I'll join the team again. And of course, little things like my desk had changed. I think Ian had jumped on my desk, so I had a different desk. And I got all the shitty modules that were left,
Nobody else wanted.
Employment skills and all that sort of thing. which I actually really enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed doing them. Yeah, so I went back to Teesside and I was again really happy. And then maybe time you just get a bit sick of the same old thing, and obviously you're getting older and you get in a position maybe, I'd been paying into a pension since I was 19, Mr. Sensible at that age. Good God, what a bore.
I know.
Mortgage at 19 and a bloody paying into a pension. What a boring
wish you'd given
get.
me their advice.
There you go.
You should have taught me that instead of crime scene.
Yeah. I bet you're grateful for that now, though, Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am now. Oh, yeah, I left Teesside quite happy to leave at that point. HE's
No, it's on a slippery
bit of a
slope,
sausage
isn't it?
factory, if you ask me.
Sausage factory.
Yeah.
So you were saying, Gary, when you started at Teesside, you didn't have a degree.
Yeah.
And you were thinking that you wouldn't be suitable to go into teaching, but obviously they found a way around it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're Dr. Currie.
Yeah.
How did you get there?
Years of studying whilst working. Basically, what happened with me is I was a bright kid at school.
Yeah.
But I totally cocked it up because I thought I was going to be a footballer, to be honest.
Did you?
Yeah.
Not bothered about your
exams. And so did everyone else at the time, to be fair.
Anyway. You're a good footballer.
Yeah. So
didn't know that.
Yeah, no. There you go. So anyway, basically left school with very little in the way of academic qualifications, and then spent years really with a chip on my shoulder thinking I need to show that I'm capable, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'd done management courses when I was in the police so that I could become the crime scene manager. That got me there. And then when I went to Harpley, I was doing teacher training there. I was doing what they called a Cert Ed. And then that's when I got the job at Teesside. So my first year at Teesside, I finished off my teacher training. And then I did a degree in forensic investigation. I think I got APEL'd for the first couple of years because of my experiences. They launched this degree specifically for operational CSI type people. The reason for that, you see, is because of what we've talked about before, this professionalization of the role.
Yeah.
What was happening is you've got people in the job, CSIs, that don't have the degrees. And then any new staff that are coming in, they've got their degrees because they've been through this new process. So it was an opportunity for them to sort of basically catch up. So I did that, and I did that quick, sharp. I did double the lessons and stuff like this because they ran it twice a year. So, and I was working full time, don't forget. So I was doing that. And then after that, I did an MSc in research methods. And then when I was doing my research methods MSc, my supervisor then basically we got talking about me doing a PhD. And so, well, because you actually took part in my MSc data collection, which was basically a forerunner of what my PhD became, about new vocational degrees in higher education. Yeah, I did that, and then I signed up to do the PhD, and then I cleverly decided to go to the Qatar in the middle of it.
What was an interesting decision.
God, stupid. So it sort of stretched out. It would normally be 3 years full time, so it was 6 years part time, and then I had a year broken off because of Qatar. Anyway, it was 7 years, and yeah, I ended up with the PhD. And I don't really even think about it much now, which I think means I did it for the right reasons. I just did it for me, really. I just did it to sort of think I can do that. Yeah, like I said, chip on my shoulder. And there was a few times when I first arrived at Teesside where some of the old traditional academics really did look down on me. Yeah.
So you've kind of had that throughout your career.
I know, yeah.
You've kind of paved the way
Maybe
a
I'm
little
paranoid.
bit.
Maybe I'm paranoid.
No, I don't think you are. I think you've probably, like I say, paved the way in some respects, like moving into the first civilian roles and etching your path through those police officers and those higher ranking officers to try and gain the respect and work as part of the team, and then doing the same with the older academics in Teesside.
Yeah. I remember walking in and catching them talking about me one day, and they didn't realise I was there, and just,
What were they saying?
Oh, they were on about that I shouldn't be getting paid what I was getting paid because I didn't have a degree.
Did you say, excuse me, I'm a pracademic?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I took a pay cut, but I was in a national job before that. I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it, I guess.
Oh, you're a better person than me. I
did it for the half.
Finished my master's dissertation, and my dissertation tutor said to me, we could turn this into a PhD. And I said, no, and ran.
Run away.
I'm out, yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does.
No academia for me.
And that I mean, again, thinking like the hours and hours and hours that I've sat at the computer in family time.
Yeah.
Tell
you what, you've got some work ethic, though.
Really have.
Yeah.
Where do you think that comes from?
Don't know. Parents, I guess. I just always, I've got to do the best I can. My kids and my missus take the mick out of me now about anything that I'd want to do. I just want to do it really well. They say like now, oh God, he'll be the best in the bloody yoga class. He'll be doing it, And I say, no. And I'm thinking, yeah, I am.
Yeah, I am. Give it another year, you'll be teaching the yoga class.
Oh, God, I've thought of that. It's $5,000 though.
I'd come to your yoga class.
I wouldn't mind
Yeah.
teaching a bit of yoga, namaste.
Yeah.
I like that.
We could probably sit and chew the cud with you for hours. I think this is probably a good place to round up. Do you, Dee?
I do, yes. Thank you very much for coming on again, Gary, especially now you've stepped away from it all. We really appreciate you coming back and stepping into the world for a little bit more.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Gary, and thank you very much to all of our listeners for tuning in again. I'm sure they've enjoyed hearing your stories as well. And if you are enjoying the podcast, please remember to subscribe on our channels and follow us on our social medias. And we will be back in a fortnight's time where we will take you back under the barrier tape.